Serious, what's the creepiest thing you experienced when you were alone that you can't explain? What about as a group? I was having a sleepover with my friend in middle school. We stayed up late watching the first couple Harry Potter movies that were out at the time, then went to bed. I ended up having a dream that I was in a dark room with a light shining down on Harry laying on his back, holding his head, and screaming and writhing in pain. I watched for a few seconds, looked up and saw my friend on the other side of the room. She looked up, and when our eyes met I woke up. She had also just woken up from the exact same dream where she saw me across the room. I still get a little weirded out by it. Haven't spoken to her in years, but I'd be interested to check if she still remembers it. I used to go out to this beach to smoke at night. There wouldn't normally be any people there around midnight. When I was either walking or sitting on a bench, I would feel something crawl up my back. It happened multiple times in multiple areas around that beach, and only that beach. I always checked and nothing was there. It felt like someone's hand crawling up my back. I remember how scared I got after I happened multiple times in a row. I stayed on my aunt's condo unit after a night shift. Was alone that time. This happened while I was on the shower. See, the shower room is separated from the toilet and is very small, probably 3x3 feet, and if you shower, the doorknob would be on your right and would visible. Halfway of shampooing, the doorknob moved, like someone wanted to get in. No knocks, it just moved for a good 3 seconds. First thing came to my mind was maybe they, my aunt and co, came home. So I called out her name, and my cousins too. No answer. Went out to check, but nobody was home, all the locks still in place. I still have no explanation how that happened, and this was rough 9 to 10 years ago. Oh God, I can't stop thinking of it now. One night I was spending the night at a friend's and we decided to go for a walk around the lake, and it's like midnight. 15 minutes into the walk and we start to hear chickens that sound like it's coming from the middle of the lake, and a few minutes later they quiet, and all of a sudden we hear coyotes from the same spot. And I think the coyotes found the chickens, cause the next few minutes sure sounded like it. And what topped it all off was we decided to go back to his house after hearing all this spooky stuff, and we come across a little girl screaming her head off at the banking of the lake's trail. Luckily we saw her parent right after, like 10 seconds of her screaming, and reality came rushing back. One time, 2 friends and I were at Heyyy. We were standing next to the toy baby section, talking about something. All of a sudden, all of the babies on a certain shelf started crying at once, right next to us. Even the ones in the back, behind others. The scariest thing about it is that every one of the babies had a try me button, and didn't have a motion sensor or anything like that. We ran out of there. This happened 2 days ago. I was alone in the house, sitting on the toilet. There was a distinct tap on the other side of the door, and then I heard what sounded like a breath being exhaled right next to my right ear. I stayed there for about 5 minutes, absolutely still and listening, before I worked up the nerve to open the door. I worked at a movie theater as a manager/projectionist. One night I was starting a movie, which required me to go upstairs into the projection booth. The booth is pitch black besides the reflected light from the already playing movies. As I threaded the film through the projector, I heard a male voice call out my name. It was so convincing and real that I responded to it by saying yeah, but continued threading the film and started the movie. Because of the sound tower and projector next to me, my view was obscured, so I was unable to see who was calling me. No one responded, so I called back again, yes. Hello. I walked out from behind the sound tower and toward the door to the booth, looking around. No one was there. I walked downstairs and asked the closest usher what they wanted, but he looked confused and had no idea what I was talking about. I asked him who just went upstairs, and he said no one. The booth door is locked, so the only people who could get up there were me and the other manager, who was female. I found her sitting in the office. I asked if she had given her keys to anyone, and she said no. I have a ton of other stories from this theater. I was fully convinced it was haunted. Once while in high school I went to hang out with a friend. His grandpa asked us to go feed his dogs while he was out of town. While at the house we started joking about how the place was haunted. The house was old, and had been used as a hospital during the Battle of Fisher's Hill. We ended up in the basement, and found a door that had been bricked off about halfway up. We joked about how there might be dead Civil War prisoners there. The basement was covered with lime, so we were very careful not to track it back up and into the house. On the way out, the screen door that was notoriously slow to close slammed shut. We were both startled by this, but laughed it off and left. The next day we came back to feed the dogs. When we went in the house we were shocked to find white footprints everywhere. They weren't normal footprints though. They were strange distorted footprints in all different sizes. They were literally everywhere. It was the lime from the basement. After that we took the dog food with us, and didn't go back in the house. When I was in high school not too long ago I used to sneak out at 3 a.m. with some spray paint and a blunt and go tag up some signs or some shit. And this particular night it was 3 a.m. I had light up a blunt and there was this park a block from my house. I went there with my kin and the park has a sign that is next to some bushes and a tree behind it a bit. I start hitting the blunt and tagging the sign. I look next to me and there's a pair of eyes staring at me from said tree behind the sign. I back up and then I hear barking coming from there that was super loud and sounded oddly human. Now keep in mind I didn't live in an area known for mountain lions, though they existed on nature reserves in my area. I assumed that's what it was and bolted fast as hell. The weird part was I could hear something I don't know what running after me. I get to the end of my block, I look behind me and there was nothing there. I wanted to go back to the sign and look but I was too scared, so I finished my blunt on my neighbor's driveway and went inside and slept. To this day that bark/scream haunts me to this fucking day.